Officer McConaughey with the Hawkins Police Department. My story started a long time ago when I met Dr. Brenner at the college that I was attending. I found out he was doing some studies with the telekinesis, ESP, and things like that. So I like doing that kind of stuff, so I went over and actually applied to work with him and was having good time with the abilities and stuff. But then something seemed a little off on what he was doing. So I started using some of my other powers because I can do remote viewing and telekinesis. So I looked at his paperwork in his office and I found out that he was actually planning on using people like me for government projects for a military use. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. So I told him that my powers, my abilities aren't working anymore, that I don't know what happened. So they harassed me for a little while. And then finally, Dr. Brenner came over to me and he says, well, the only way that he's going to release me from the program is if I give him some of my DNA. So I agreed to give him some of my DNA. Then I left the program, got out of there, and I still monitored what he was doing in his office and stuff, and I saw what was happening, that he was taking my DNA and utilizing it to create more people with abilities like me. So I said something's a little off there. And the thing that I thought was really weird though was a lot of these girls that he supposedly artificially inseminated, he turned around and told them that they lost their baby, that the baby died. But I noticed that every single one of those babies survived, that he had a program going on and he had each one of them numbered. And he was testing them and manipulating them to find out what abilities they can have them do. And when the project got far enough along, he applied for a grant with the government and he got it, and he moved his operation to Hawkins, Indiana. And that's when I figured I better go over there too. So I went over and I had some plastic surgery done. I went over and went into the government, manipulated the documents and changed my identity. And I thought of what area I could work at where I could monitor them and not be noticed. And I said, well, if I work as a police officer over there, then nobody will know what I'm doing. So I went over and applied as a police officer, showed them the credentials, and got a job as a police officer over there. And I started working in the department. I met Chief Hopper and started doing the work with him, work around the community and stuff. But then I started noticing that some of the test subjects that he had were not over in the college, and some of them didn't make it over there to the Hawkins lab. So I started going over to investigate those, and I asked Chief Hopper if I could go investigate some of the stuff, and he's like, yeah, go ahead. And then while I was over investigating some of the subjects, then one of the test subjects that they called 11 got loose from the program, got out of Hawkins' lab, and was wandering around Hawkins, and there's a lot of phenomenon going on that they couldn't explain. So I started coming back to Hawkins to help the chief out, but then by the time I got over there, everything got worse, and now the chief is missing, and I have to help his fellow officers, and also, unfortunately, I'm going to have to contact Dr. Brenner again and contact the government agencies so we can try and find out where Chief Hopper is, because I believe that the equipment the Russians were working on, yeah, I know the Russians were there too, because I was monitoring Hawkins, Indiana also at the same time. But I think the equipment that those guys had when it got destroyed caused Chief Hopper to be transported over to Russia. So I think right now the subject that they have that's called the American is actually Chief Hopper, and the gentleman that was working with him called Murray, I believe he also is over there in Russia, because I think that the reason why the Russians were able to get out of Hawkins, Indiana real fast was they had a way to transport themselves between the areas before the equipment got destroyed. So I gotta find a way to get over to Russia and see if I can help get Chief Hopper back one way or another. And now that 11 is with Joyce, it'll be a lot easier for her to be able to get along with regular people and fit in until we can get things going. Then after we get Chief back, then we can start working with 11 to get her integrated in society and show her how to use her powers and cover up her powers without people bothering her. So that's what the project going to be, is I'm going to go over to the embassy, get documentation to and copy documentation where it looks like I'm a Russian citizen, and I'm going to go over to Russia and snoop around over there and find out where that location is that has Hopper. And also I got to see about neutralizing the Demogorgon that they have over there, because we don't need that thing getting loose and running around. You saw what it did when it was over in Hawkins, Indiana, because I believe that Demogorgon is the Demogorgon that 11 was putting back into the upside down, but somehow instead of it going to upside down, I think it went to Russia. So we got to deal with that too. So that's all for now. I'm going to try my best to get over there as soon as I can and deal with the situation. So I will talk to you guys later.